Okay, so continuing with section 3, we can also factor fourth degree polynomials. X to the fourth can be written as x squared squared. So we could rewrite a as x squared squared, and then put the x squared in a parenthesis. So instead of having a variable as x, I have a variable as x squared. And this kind of looks like a quadratic, right? Here's your square, here's your single, here's your constant. So we can factor this as x squared minus 9 and x squared plus 3. Because the factors that add up to -6 that multiply to -27 are -9 and +3. And then you can factor x squared minus 9 further into x plus 3, x minus 3. We cannot factor x squared plus 3 further, so we leave it as x squared plus 3. That's our answer. The way I like to think about it is I like to rewrite this as a square single constant. So I like to take out an x squared just for a moment. So I have x squared plus 7x plus 6. Because now it looks like a nice, easy quadratic. I can factor this as x plus 6, x plus 1. But you can't ever just take something out in math because you don't like it. So I just moved the square out for a minute, and now that I'm done, I can put it back in. So you can think about it in this sense as rewrite it as a quadratic and then put the squares back in, or you can think about it as what's really going on is x squared squared. So what's really going on is this is x squared squared plus 7 quantity x squared plus 6, which factors down to this. And we cannot factor x squared plus 6 and x squared plus 1 further, so that's your answer. Anytime you solve by factoring, it doesn't matter if you have a quadratic, it doesn't matter if you have a cubic function, it doesn't matter if you have a fourth degree function or an eighth degree function. You have to factor first, and then we set those factors equal to 0. So I can factor a here as x squared plus 9 and x squared plus 2. Now that I factored it, I set each factor equal to 0. So x squared plus 9 equals 0. X squared equals -9. We square root both sides. X is going to equal plus or minus 3i. Same thing over here. X squared plus 2 equals 0. So x squared equals -2. Square root both sides. X equals plus or minus I root 2. Always simplify your radicals if you can. That includes taking an I out for the negative. I have 4 answers here. Positive 3i, negative 3i, positive I root 2, negative I root 2. Because it's a fourth degree, that's how many you need 4 answers. Looking over here at B, I would take out a 2 first. And this is 2x to the 4th minus 3x squared plus 1 equals 0. We can ignore this outside number because when we divide it by 2, it'll cancel out on the left side, and 0 divided by 2 is 0. So you really get 2x to the 4th minus 6x plus 2 equals 0. You can factor that into, that should be a 2x plus 1. And, whoops. 2x to the 4th minus 3x squared plus 1, excuse me. and that factors to 2x minus 1 and x minus 1. X squared minus 1. And then we set those equal to 0. 2x squared minus 1 equals 0. So 2x squared equals 1. X squared will equal 1/2. When we square root this, x will equal plus or minus 1 over root 2. You can't have a radical in the denominator, so we have to rationalize. And this gives you plus or minus root 2 over 2. So be careful if you get a radical in the denominator, you need to rationalize. Here, x squared minus 1, I could factor that into x plus 1, x minus 1 equals 0. Or you could just solve it, and then x will equal plus or minus 1. And again, check that you have 4 answers. We do in this case, so we're all good. So take a moment now and pause the video and try to do A and B, and then check the video when you're done to make sure that your answer is correct. For A, I could factor out an x squared. You always want to look to factor out if you can to make life easier. And then this gives me 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 equals 0. Well, then I can factor this quadratic to be a 2x minus... This is going to be an x, and this is going to be a 3, it's going to be 1. And I want... These should be switched. So this is going to be 2x plus 1 and x minus 3, which will multiply to negative 3 and add to negative 5 with the x squared. Now I can set each set of factors equal to 0. X squared equals 0. 2x plus 1 equals 0. X minus 3 equals 0. X squared minus 0, that is 0 twice. 0, 0, because it's a square that gives you 2 answers. This always throws people off, so be careful of that. It's not just 1 0, it's 2 zeros. 2x plus 1, x will equal negative 1/2, and x minus 3 equals 0, so x equals 3. So I have 4 answers because I have a 4th degree polynomial. Over here for B, I can factor this to be x squared minus 9, x squared minus 1 equals 0. I can factor this further down to be x plus 3, x minus 3, and x plus 1, and x minus 1. Set each of these equal to 0. X is going to equal plus or minus 3, and x will equal plus or minus 1. 4 answers for my 4th degree polynomial. This is fully factored right here. You could solve it from here, but if I ask for fully factored, I'm going to want to see this. So that is factoring 4th degrees. This is the end of the section 5.3 video, and the next video we'll start with section 4.